Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She comes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Thursday, July 22nd. LA Galaxy coming off their first draw of the season. We're going to talk about that come from behind draw at Real Salt Lake and why you should probably be pretty happy about it, but if you're mad about it, I understand too. We're going to talk a little bit about that, get you through some stats, get you through some other interesting things as we sort of weed our way along to FC Dallas. This is the short break, Wednesday, Saturday. Team is already in Dallas, traveled today. We're going to talk a whole bunch about that. Maybe even about Jonathan Bond's travel pillow. I don't know. That seems like a hot topic, so we're gonna go with that as well. To help me do all of that, he's joining me. It's weird because we're good friends. We've seen each other for so many times. I can't believe we haven't had him on. But Mr. Christian Miles, Christian, how's it going, buddy?
Great, Josh. Finally, the invite comes. I mean, I've been waiting for this for about 4 years, but hey, it's my COG debut. Looking forward to talk a little Galaxy, look ahead, look back, and exciting times. So yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And you have, for all of our listeners there, you have the Lion of Los Angeles
yes.
COG shirt on as well. So we appreciate that.
Full COG groupie, and my love to COG and Zlatan. Couple seasons old, but I'm old school, right?
Right, so. That's right. I mean, I know we were just talking about that. I turned 40 tomorrow, and I'm
Happy
sort of
birthday.
Like, thank you, I appreciate that. And it's a lot. We were talking just before we got on air, and I was like, it used to be that some of the guys on the team who played soccer were actually older than me. Now the only people who are older than me are the coaches. And I think I'm going to time out of that here pretty fast too. If, maybe Greg Vanney sticks around. I think he's got me by like 5 years. So that'll keep going. We'll race each other to 50 or something like that.
40, Josh. How do you feel about that? I'm
okay with it. Mostly because it's still tomorrow. You asked me what my plans were. I said, I'm going to try to get out of bed. So, I mean, if we can make that, it's a good start to 40 as far as I can see. So but
that qualifies as glass half full then. I mean, I was expecting like a skydiving or going to Vegas or
no,
I don't know, something crazy.
I don't think I'm midlife crisising it yet. I plan on I plan on living to 90. So 45 should be my midlife crisis, right? That's what it is. I want to be 90 in the press box. Just sitting there, just like counting up stats, and I remember when Zlatan played. That'll be me in the corner, and people will be like, "Does anybody even sit next to him?" Like, no, he just talks to himself in the corner. That hopefully, fingers crossed, that's me.
And I'll be across the way, and then we'll be too old to slap high fives.
That's exactly. We'll just nod. We'll give each other the nod. No, Christian. I know people know this, but I want to tell everybody. Obviously, you do the play-by-play on the radio stream for the LA Galaxy, which is on YouTube, right? And so, if you were ever not able to watch the game, because I hear plenty of complaints about Spectrum and whether or not you have that channel or not, and you don't have the ability, you can go on YouTube, the LA Galaxy's YouTube page, and most of the time, if it's a Spectrum broadcast, it's you in there doing the play-by-play. Is that a correct statement on all that?
I'm Joe Totino's stuntman, so to speak. Joe's busy with the big-time TV stuff with Kobe, and I step in and perform the radio duties. It's on YouTube. It's also on LAGalaxy.com, the radio stream. We chime in about 15 minutes or so before kickoff at the quarter till of the hour. Then we also have a 15-minute post-game show. So, hey, if you want a little radio stream and you're in your car, you're unable to get the TV and watch Joe and Kobe, give us a shot, give us a listen.
Yeah, and Christian does a great job. He's usually up on the press box talking with me and Larry and Kevin before the games, and we just, toss him back and forth stuff. We text each other all the time. Like, how do you say that guy's name?
Here we go.
Well, see, the good news is I don't know if you caught this, but in the post game last night, I actually asked Rayan how you said his name. So we will have that. And I'll try to find it here soonish because we're going to end up saying his name a lot. And it was one of those things that was a question mark. Now, it changed, and everybody needs to understand that it changed. Rayan put out a video of him saying revolution, basically. And we all heard that video, and, I played that video, I think, on the podcast, too. But we all heard that, we saw that, and we said, okay, that's how he wants to say it. Well, apparently that's
which was a big head scratcher. I mean, French guy coming in. I mean, it sounds like New England Revolution almost, doesn't it?
It did. And you know what? We were having a good time with that, too. So, it was one of those, it's like, hey, if that's how he wants to say it, then that's how he wants to say it. And so we sort of went that way. And now apparently we're going back a different way. A Raveloson is, I believe, how we're going with now. And I have him actually saying it. And I just want to see... I have to go through all these different things because there's a French translation. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there, and so I want to make sure that we get it correct. So I'll try to maybe listen to it here in a second while we talk about this game. But Christian, this is a game. The LA Galaxy go to Real Salt Lake. They are reeling off of the loss to Vancouver, right? Obviously, I think their first really bad game of the year is that Vancouver loss, and there was nothing really positive to take out of it. It was just a flat performance. And then they go into RSL, which, if you looked at the 3 games they were going to play, is the hardest of the 3 games. And especially coming off the weekend game at altitude, staying at altitude, doing all the stuff. The RSL game was going to be the most difficult one. And you're still missing 7 players, 5 players international duty, or I think maybe even 8 players, 5 to international, 3 to injury, if you count Jalen Neal on that. So there's still this shorthanded sort of mentality that's going in there. And to start the game, basically, the LA Galaxy go down 2-0. I mean, it wasn't the start that I think everybody, or the reaction that everybody wanted to see.
It's not. I mean, I tweeted out before the game, I was not expecting complacency to start this game, but it was almost, Josh, like a carryover from the Vancouver game, especially as the Vancouver game ended in the second half. And Galaxy were just sleepwalking through the 15 minutes. Real Salt Lake, I don't know what Freddie Juarez said to them, but they came out in that high press, made things real difficult. The distribution out of the back was really poor from the Galaxy. They weren't up for it. And, credit to them. They woke up and we'll talk about it here, but, a team that will be happy with a point. It's kind of a thing where a point feels like 3 points,
right?
Even though they did have an opportunity to win this, but given the circumstances and down 2-0 after 26 minutes, they can be happy with a point. It's one of those, it doesn't mean that as much as you might think in the results, but in terms of morale and confidence building, this team just proves something big to themselves, I think.
Yeah. And you want to see that. By the way, I think I've tracked down now Rayan saying his name. It's I have this really cool app now that transcribes all of the audio into stuff, and then I can go so we're gonna attempt to make this sound good. So listen carefully, and then we'll try to copy it.
Raveloson.
Okay, that's how I was saying it last night, and
right.
Then you get attacked on social media for saying it wrong, and then you tweet out the video that you were kind enough to send me beforehand. We were all like freaking out. I mean, everybody, even the Galaxy PR staff was like, I don't know. We ask him every time, and
it changes
4 times. It changes every 4 times. You don't know what he's saying, and so. But the bottom line, every player needs to have their name pronounced how they wish, and we're just trying to do Rayan Raveloson justice, right?
That's all. Hey, we're just trying to make it that way. And you want to get it right. I mean, this is it's like I get angry whenever, Nick DePuy is Nick DePuy, not Nick Dupuy, and you don't say it Dupuy, even though it looks like it is. It's DePuy, and that's how his name is. It's Dan Steres, right? Not Dan Stairs, Steres, right? And it's like these little things that you go through, and it's little things like that drive me crazy because we've seen, and we've been around long enough, announcers change names of people to sort of fit how they want to say it. And I don't want to get into that. So we're going to go with Raveloson. Okay.
I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in. And just keep everybody happy. And this, by the way, came from the horse's mouth himself, Raveloson, telling Greg Vanney, and Greg Vanney personally reiterating this pronunciation to the Galaxy PR staff, who's kind enough. Shout out to Vicky Mercado.
Yes.
Let you know who let us know. So yes, Rayan Raveloson.
Yeah, and then I asked him, and then I didn't trust any of them, and I asked him again after the game. So that was, and he was smiling. So anyway, that's where we're at, and that's the thing. I just want to make sure everybody knows that's what we're doing. But the lineup Greg Vanney throws out for this is, I'm not going to. It's not like I don't think it was interesting. I don't think it was outlandish. It was sort of straightforward in a lot of ways. You know, you had Kevin Cabral at center forward, which we know on this program, I have been very critical of him in the center of the field, and I think I stand correct on that, even throughout this game. So you had Cabral playing that center forward position. You had Dunbar out on the left wing. You had Grant Sierra out on the right wing. That would switch. That wouldn't last very long. In fact, as soon as they scored 2 goals, Greg Vanney switched it and everything calmed down afterwards. We'll talk about that as being maybe the play of the game, outside of Victor Vasquez scoring that goal. Sasha Kljestan, you have Raveloson in the center with Victor Vasquez, Villafana, Williams, Depew, Araujo, Bond back there. So, I mean, again, I would say it's a vanilla lineup. And when we talk about missing people, you're missing Sebastian Lletget would probably be a starter in there. You're missing Chicharito, who would probably be a starter in there. We sort of said this against Vancouver as well. There aren't a ton of starters missing, but there's some flexibility in the starters that are there, right? There's a lack of flexibility in the starters that are there because you're missing Chicharito. That's a big one. Everybody knows that. Yes, you'd probably slot Sebastian Lletget somewhere in the midfield, but with Raveloson there, that actually becomes more of a question mark between Vasquez and Kljestan, and Kljestan probably doesn't start. It's probably Lletget, and Kljestan comes in off the bench. That makes sense. And then if you go on the backside, on the defensive side, Nick Depew is probably not long-term the starter there. It's Koulibaly or it's Steres or however they sort of want to run that in there. So again, you're only really missing 3 starters on the whole thing. To me, there shouldn't be a huge drop-off in how they play, but we have seen that they are not the same team with Kljestan in the center, with Vasquez in the center. They're certainly slower in the center, and Raveloson has sort of had to pick up all of the slack in that, and I think, amazingly, he's done that.
He's been fantastic. Breath of fresh air, goal in each of the last 3 games, and he's proven his flexibility, which gives a lot of options to Greg Vanney. Played the first game starting at the number 6 against FC Dallas, and then moved into that central defensive role due to the injury to Sega. He's a natural number 6, and you can see I've been screaming for this the whole season. This team, even with Jonathan Dos Santos fully fit, it needs cover in the center of the park. They're missing a number 6. They're missing that steal in midfield, and it allowed players even like Sasha, like you were talking about, or Jonathan Dos Santos, a little freer role to play a little higher, almost as that proverbial number 8 and a box-to-box presence. And it just frees up other players because it's almost like a domino effect. If you have a number 6 and you got a strong spine, and Sega is going to be the partnership back there, I believe, alongside his partner, not Depew, but Derek Williams, and the fullbacks are set. So I like the spine. I like Raveloson coming in there. I think he's been. I mean, this is going to sound almost like cat in the hat, kind of alliterative, but Raveloson's been a revelation.
He has been. Yeah,
he's been. I mean, fantastic, and no one expected this from him. And really brought a different dimension, power on set pieces. You really can't say enough about him. I like his attitude. I mean, he's almost got kind of a Magic Johnson kind of aura about him. He's smiling, laid back.
Yes.
He's relaxed. He enjoys his football. He had a couple little niggles with some cap problems against Vancouver, but he really bounced back. And credit to the adjustments that Greg Vanney made, because Greg Vanney, bar none, for me, in-game adjustments in Major League Soccer, he's right up there with the Bruce Arenas of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really, really crazy, and it almost makes, and this is going to be the discussion in the show, right? Because you have Kevin Cabral, who's out there and who's getting a lot of pressure on him, and I think rightfully so in some ways. He's a young designated player, but he's 22 years old. It's not like he is, he has ever been this far away from home. There's so many things that are different to him, and I had somebody who was trying to compare him to Efrain Alvarez. It's like, well, would you let Alvarez keep starting if it was the whole thing? I'm like, well, Efrain Alvarez is playing in his home. He's home. He's never left anywhere. He's playing with his hometown club. He's as comfortable there as anywhere else. And so you can't really compare those things, especially when you're talking about Cabral, who is now, I think, 10 games, has played 10 games in this time. And so I've argued, and I think I'm still right on this, is that center forward's not his position. Now, there's not much they can do, and this is a shortcoming of the LA Galaxy. This is something that we know Dennis DeClosa knows about. This is something we know Greg Vanney knows about, is that they are short in terms of their backup striker, right? They don't have one. I think they were hoping that Augie Williams might be able to fill a little bit of a hole, but we've seen that isn't the case, and Greg Vanney has been openly critical of sort of his performances. Ethan Zuback is an extremely hard worker, tries his absolute hardest every single time he's out there, will run himself into the ground, which is all great things. The talent's not there, and I really like Ethan, and I think he's a great guy, but eventually maybe he develops into a guy who can give you some minutes off the bench and score you some goals and stuff like that. But in terms of, what you need as a starting striker right now, even a backup striker, he's not there. Kevin Cabral is not there. He's much better as a winger. He has more space on the outside. He's more creative on the outside. The more he drifts in, and if I'm Greg Vanney, I'm almost like, start like throwing things at him as soon as he starts like moving further and further inside the field. The further he moves in, the more problems that he has in terms of finding space, finding time, and his physicality isn't there. So I'm high on him. I think he's going to be fine. But putting him in right now as the second striker sort of backup is not going to work for him, at least right now. He's got to develop a lot of his game. The argument here is, though, Christian, they spent a lot of money on him, and people are already saying, well, you need to bench him. And I'm like, he's 22 years old. You do not bench that kid. Let him play through it. And you're paying him $1.4 million a year, roughly. So that's a lot of money for a guy to be sitting on the bench. And I know Kevin always argues with me and says, who cares? If you win in games, it matters. It matters whenever there's that much money sitting on the bench. I think he's going to be fine over the 5 years. I think he's going to be a very good player. I think Vanney knows he's a project. I think they got him for that reason. But he's going to take some heat. He missed a wide open sitter. I'll argue it wasn't as easy as everybody pretends it was, but it was something that he probably should have scored in this game, and would have really helped the LA Galaxy in that moment to really grab hold of the game and maybe push that into a game where they could have won it instead of just tying it. So there's something there. What do you take on Kevin Cabral and sort of his progression? First 10 games.
I see a lack of depth up front for the Galaxy. Are good when Chicharito comes in and they have Grandsir and even Cabral wide on the left. And I like Cabral. I see it in him. I know what Vanney sees in him. He has that potential. He's got a great first touch. Decision-making has let himself down. Too easily dispossessed. I think he needs to be a little bit stronger on the ball. And that's to be expected with a young player who's playing, abroad for the first time. But, this is time to step up. I mean, yes, it's going to be good. You want to take a long-term approach to it. But, come the time being, you've got to show up. He's got one goal on the campaign in about 10 or 11 appearances. It's got to get a little bit better. It's got to get sharper. And also, I think what he needs to do, whether it be Chicharito, Ethan Zuback, whoever's playing in that number 9 role, there has to be a little bit better understanding. And I'm just not seeing that. But, all in all, I take a step back and a broader perspective of this is so much turnover for this Galaxy team this year, who, lost about 7 starters, I believe, to my best recollection. So it's going to take a little while for this team to gel. We're only, 14 games into the campaign. And Cabral coming in late didn't help anything. But right. I too share the same optimism. I think he's got it there. I think he has it in him. I was hoping that goal against Dallas would open the floodgates. He seems a little bit lost in the system right now, if I'm being frank. Right. And that's something that I'm sure that Greg Vanney will address with him on an individual basis. And we'll see how it plays out here. But I agree. He's somebody that you have to keep faith with. There's not a lot of other options right now.
That's the other thing. It's like, what else are you going to... I mean, there isn't anything else. Somebody's like, oh, you should bench him. I'm like, you're not benching anybody right now. Not with 8 guys who aren't on this roster who realistically have an effect on this roster.
There is the option, though, and a player that deserves a chance, and Augustine Williams, who we've seen his exploits at Galaxy 2, a guy that can bang in the goals. He banged in 13, second best in USL Championship. Now, that's USL Championship.
Right.
MLS is another kettle of fish here. So, and Vanney has been critical of some of the play of Augustine Williams. So he's waiting in the wings. I think he's a player that's going to prove himself, and he might get a chance at that. And as far as a center forward role, personally, I don't see it with Cabral. I think he needs to express himself in a wider, more creative role, and his ability to link and almost drift in from those outside in positions really suits his strengths.
By the way, I want to get to some super chats that we got. Aaron gave us $5, and he says, "I want you two to debate, preferably have a boxing match to decide how to pronounce Raveloson. Also, I want Christian to pronounce GBS's name for Josh. Give me your best.
Esqueloto.
Esqueloto. Yeah, it's one of those. I never would go with Esqueloto.
Well, I have to backtrack a little bit. In our days, going way back in the days at Fox Soccer, and we saw him play with Boca Juniors. Everything that came in was Esqueloto. That's the Spanish pronunciation. So, apologies, it did get stuck in my head, but that is technically the pronunciation. Even he addressed it during a post-game press conference. So there you go. I'm standing tall.
Good.
I'm standing firm with my Esqueloto, but we don't have to worry about that anymore.
John sends us a $5 super chat as well and says, appreciate Christian's work. So he's a fan of yours. The best part about that $5 is you'll never see a penny of it. That's my favorite part about this is that will, I'll first of all, let's not pretend that YouTube doesn't see like 30% of that or that $5. All right. So, good job, YouTube. Way to go. But no, we appreciate that, John. Thank you for the super chats, on that. Let's get to this game though. The LA Galaxy, like we said, they give up 2 goals.
Yes.
Then Greg Vanney makes what I consider the play of the game, which is a switch. And he switched Dunbar, who was getting torched on the left-hand side. He was getting steamrolled. He wasn't getting back on defense. Villafana was getting double-teamed on the attacking side of things a couple times. And Villafana looked lost. And Villafana is not a guy who looks lost. I'm going to give everybody a little hint on this. If you ever see Villafana looking lost, something's not right in front of him. Like something isn't working the way he's seeing it. And in this particular case, it's Cameron Dunbar was the issue in that particular thing. So Greg Vanney does something, and maybe he could have done it a little earlier, but he didn't. It was after the 2 goals get scored. He switches Dunbar and Grandsir, which, by the way, it's a little thing, right? And people are going to sort of dismiss this as it being a little thing. RSL did not get into that game. That was it. It was over. That was the end of them being dangerous on the attack because they were coming up that right-hand side, their right-hand side attacking the left side of the LA Galaxy. And they were it was unimpeded. They were just rolling through. It was like the Galaxy were traffic cones. They make that switch, and Grandsir comes in and shuts down anything that happened on that side with Villafana. Those two understand each other. Done. That's what got the LA Galaxy. Obviously you can key in Victor Vasquez with a clutch goal in the first half that really does it. But that switch solidified the formation, made things happen, brought Raveloson into the game a lot more in the center. It was able to sort of establish the positioning in the midfield that was a problem early in the game, and those things combined. I was going to say, is Captain Planet. With your powers combined, I am Captain Planet. No. With those things combined, that's where the LA Galaxy were able to gain a foothold back in this game, in my opinion.
100%. That was if you have to look back on this game and the balance in 90 minutes, that was kind of the defining moment. And, Grandsir is a naturally left-footed player, and we saw him hit the crossbar in the previous 2 games. And Vanney wanted that inverted, quote-unquote inverted winger presence, and we've seen it throughout the campaign with Grandsir on the right, cutting in on his left, and then whoever it may be on the left, whether it be Cabral or in the case last night with the likes of Dunbar cutting on the right, as well as Vasquez in support, who naturally likes to drift out wide left. I thought it was a stroke of genius because it was Grandsir who actually kind of opens up the field with that natural left foot, drops that shoulder, and that creates that space underneath. And with the added commitment of trying to get forward and really not having anything to lose, being down 2-0 after 26 minutes, I thought it was a stroke of genius. It completely unbalanced Real Salt Lake. I don't think Justin Glad and with Herrera bombing forward could cope with the pace, the power, the directness of the likes of Grandsir, a player who I thought was due. I really thought he was going to hit the score sheet on that game, but not for a lack of trying. But his directness and his ability to really put those defenders on the back foot, open space up underneath. I thought Greg Vanney, again, he more times than not, he's going to get his in-game adjustments correct, and he really kind of pushed the honest with that. And I don't think that Real Salt Lake, they had a few flutters here and there and had a few glimpses, but I don't really think that they had an answer for that move.
No, and I talked to Greg afterwards, and there was the normal questions that obviously talking about Raveloson. I want to go back to the French version.
Come on.
I know, I'll get it. Raveloson is how good he's been. That was obviously a very early question. My question for Greg was, I go, it didn't seem like the Galaxy panicked, right? Now, I will argue, I don't think there was a big enough reaction after the first goal, giving up the first goal, of sort of being like, hey, pay attention, we're about to get run over, and you can see it coming, right? Because the first 26 minutes, that's what it was, is the Galaxy were laying down on the tracks, and RSL was coming through full steam ahead, and they were just going to get run over. You knew that was happening. But when you see, but after the second goal, the Galaxy were sort of like, okay, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and we'll be fine. We're fine. We know we're fine now. We figured it out. And Greg Vanney said he thought they played some of their best soccer immediately after, that second goal went in. And then it goes to Victor Vasquez. Can Victor Vasquez be underrated? Because it feels like he's underrated. Like, it feels like people are like, oh, he's old. Don't worry about him. He can't do much anymore. The whole deal. Victor Vasquez still pulls so many strings in the midfield, and that goal that he had, I mean, it's not like he had a ton of room to take that shot. He took that shot with inches of room in order to get it, and it was one Ochoa just stood and watched. He was never getting to it. So, I mean, is Victor Vasquez sort of an underrated guy on the LA Galaxy, or do we give him enough credit, and it's everybody else who's not paying attention?
I don't know the answer to that, but this guy's a treble winner, and when we signed him at the beginning of the season, I thought, oh wow, this is a fantastic signing, because he's a game changer, but he's a guy that can provide creativity, and he has a nose for goal, and we've seen that. And unfortunately, missed out, I believe, about 3 games due to injury, and trying to fit in his place. Sometimes I think that he's trying to do a little bit too much, perhaps, and take too much of that load on his shoulders. But he's trying to, we know he can link, we know he can score goals, and on his day and 100% fit, this is a guy that can change a game, and they need that creative inspiration a little bit sometimes going forward.
Yeah, you see that from him. He's so solid. That goal is huge. It's not the one, though, in my opinion, it wasn't like the Galaxy needed that goal to, spur themselves on. Again, I didn't see any panic in the LA Galaxy after they sort of made that switch. I mean, is that unfair?
No, it's not. And in fact, arguably the best 15 minutes of that game were the last quarter of an hour before halftime. I thought it was brilliant. They were great. That Real Salt Lake didn't see it coming. They kind of became unhinged. So, yeah, and a little bit of a flutter in the second half. It became a little bit more stretched, a little bit more wide open, but it was, no really adjustment made by Real Salt Lake. Yes, things changed a little bit with Steris coming in the second half. They went to 3 at the back and trying to get a little bit numbers forward, looking for that equalizer, which eventually came from Raveloson.
That's such an important thing. I really want to focus in on that, though. The change to 3 in the back and pushing up the wide players is huge. I want to get to Greg Vanney talking about how they played after they went down 2-0. This is his response to my question, and I just play this, and then we won't play the whole thing because Greg will talk for like 12 minutes, but we'll play a little portion here from Greg Vanney after the LA Galaxy's 2-2 draw with Real Salt Lake.
I thought when we went down 2-0, we actually played our best soccer at that point that we've seen in a couple games, specifically last game, but we played well at home the previous ones. But I thought all of a sudden the ball started moving. We started to find the open player. We were playing across the field. We were doing a lot of things that we talk about, but we weren't rushing. We were finding the next best pass, and the ball was getting to each other quicker, and it was getting to each other to give the next guy a chance to be successful. We were building good numbers into the attacks. Julian was having a chance to get higher because we weren't losing the ball in 2-3 passes. We were a little more patient, allowing our interchanges to happen, which was overloading them on the outsides, which was creating a lot of challenges for them. So some of the things that we talked about between last game that we didn't do well, even from a shape, structure, and decision-making standpoint, we did better once we got down 2-0. But that's ultimately, I think, what laid the foundation for us to be able to come back. And yes, it was. I thought in the second half we rushed things sometimes, and part of
we'll cut him off there. He'll go on talking about the second half. I just wanted to get the first stuff, the whole deal. By the way, somebody in the chat room goes, "Come on, Josh, where's the passing map?" Don't worry, I have the passing map. I have it. The LA Galaxy shape.
COG without a graph.
Yeah, I was. Please don't even play that game. An interesting shape on this, and it gets twisted a little bit. I think just because with Cabral moving in and out of the formation and sort of looking a couple different things in that way. But it's more of if I don't know how to explain this for people who are on the podcast, it's more of a diamond, like an actual diamond shape, not a four-sided diamond shape, an actual like cut faceted diamond shape. There's a lot pressed forward. You see, these are also average positions, which we talk about so much. So you see, Raveloson is very much in the center of all of this, and you can see the spokes coming out from him. You see Sasha Kleshin being very much involved with his spokes. So a stronger midfield, a higher pushed up average position than you see sometimes, and especially with Araujo. I mean, Araujo's average position was at the midfield line. Which is great to see, right? So, that's where we're at, and certainly with the passing chart, I think shows a good shape. I think Vanney would be happy if you showed him this chart. I think he would be okay with sort of the average positions and where everybody was. So, for me,
yeah. And no, Josh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think you're spot on, because also on the reflection of that puts Real Salt Lake on the back foot here. They played higher up, and you may remember that concerted pressure. Real Salt Lake at times couldn't get out of their own half. So when you look at this passing chart, a lot of that, after that adjustment in the 30th minute, a lot of that game was played in Real Salt Lake's half. And Real Salt Lake really had a problem just kind of get it out of the back. I saw Glad cough it up. And as brilliant as Ochoa was, he struggled with his distribution. Herrera bombing on left a lot of pressure, on their number 6, like Everton Luiz and Pablo Ruiz, who I thought, after the adjustment, allowed Raveloson to come forward and put that pressure on them, and they looked uncomfortable. They didn't like it, and they are on their home ground. Fans out there, and I can't take my hat off to them enough, because down 2-0 away from home, you flat out got your what's handed to you by Vancouver. Right. Let's be honest, they were at work. Yep. The character, is kind of a defining theme of this.
Yeah, and I know people are going to say, should have been 3 points. It's like you cannot count road points. Don't ever count road points. Don't ever be like, oh, you're going to run over Vancouver. Yes, they should have played better against Vancouver. Absolutely. Vancouver was up for that game, absolutely, and the Galaxy were not up for that game, all right? So they played bad, that's it. Against RSL, that was the harder team out of the 3 teams that you're playing, and you go down 2-0 and you're able to reel it back and get a point, jump up and down with that point. That point feels like 3 points. It's not. It's 1 point, but it feels like 3 points. So be happy with that. But I mean, we're going to look at Dallas here. If you think the LA Galaxy are just going to walk in and beat Dallas, who hasn't lost a game at home this year, why do you think the Galaxy are special? Why do you think the Galaxy are special that they're going to be able to do it 3rd game in 3 on the road? They've been traveling the whole time. Why do you think the Galaxy are special? I'm telling you, if the Galaxy do beat Dallas, which Dallas, strange things happen in Dallas, always have, always will. There's storms. There's like balls that are crossed that end up in the goal because of wind and stuff. There's weird things. So just don't, this is very much a do not count your chickens game. Because the Galaxy are going to have to work extremely hard if they're going to be the first team this year to beat the last place team at home. All right, it's one of those things. Anyway, that was my little Dallas sidebar before we get into all this other stuff. I mean, overall, that we were talking about the 3 backs. Let's talk about that just a little bit, because I think it's going to be super important for the rest of the season. I think you're going to see this. I think the LA Galaxy are comfortable in it. I think Greg Vanney went out and got the defenders to be able to do it. Eventually, you can expect something like Dan Steris and Sega Coulibaly and Derek Williams as your 3 backs. And whenever you can play a guy like Julian Araujo, who is absolutely a 2-way defender and can play up on the wing, and has been one of the best right-sided players in Major League Soccer so far this season. And you can get somebody like Grant Sur who can play on that left-hand side, or Villafana who can push up into that spot. And he's not going to be the best in that spot, but you know what? He's super solid. The LA Galaxy are really set up for this, Christian. You can see all the pieces and sort of how they fit. This is going to be something Greg goes to when he wants to sort of change things up.
And you want to have that plan B, and they have it. And, Steris may not be the ball player. Derek Williams is a player that was cited by Greg Vanney, who can play that long ball, and it was singled out for individual praise for being one of the bright spots. He's starting to get fit and finding his way in there. It's kind of a start-stop season for him. But, yeah, you want that tactical flexibility. They can go with 3 at the back. They look very comfortable. And with a player like Araujo on that right, it means Villafana may just drop a little bit, but Araujo, folks, enjoy him while you can, because He's not going to be around long. He is brilliant. There's a reason Dennis Teclosa is smart enough to sign this guy. He is going to gain a lot in the transfer market, I think. And I'd love to see it. It's one of those great stories of the academy. It's almost a vindication of the youth setup, which I'm so fond of with Los Angeles. And we're seeing it, going all the way back to, the Dan Steris, Dave Romney days. And he's just the latest one to roll off the conveyor belt, but he's possibly the best to roll off the conveyor belt. That includes Efrain Alvarez. But he's a special player, can play in wing back, can play as a fullback, gets forward, tracks back, and has just a tireless engine, a thirst, a hunger for the game. And it makes things a lot easier to play with. And, he's also his maturity and learning to read the game. And you look at his post-game comments, and when he was playing the assist for the Raveloson goal, he saw the defender take a step back, the fullback, and allowed him to open up the space. He recognizes that, says, hey, I can hit this cross. He placed that cross.
He did.
For Raveloson. It wasn't just a blind ball. It wasn't just one, let's put it in the area. I mean, he basically threaded it right off the head of Raveloson, who, did all the rest to much to his aplomb. But Julian Araujo, for me, just lights out. Fantastic.
Yeah. There was something about that, though, because he says, I saw the defender move, right? And the whole deal. So the whole idea here is that that Araujo was on the inside. Sasha Kljestan went to run around his outside, so there's an overlap there. And basically, Araujo's trying to read the defender, whether he's going to dish it off to Sasha or whether he's going to take the cross himself. Go back and watch that play, because the moment that defender moves, Araujo was already ready to put the cross in. He's talking about it like these were steps that happened like seconds apart. They did not happen seconds apart. He anticipated him just shifting his weight a little bit. The defender just goes to Sasha just for a second, and the ball's already off Araujo's feet. It's already in the cross. It is outstanding.
It is, and there's two things that stand out to me. This was just moments after they went to three at the back and pushed Araujo, who had been playing a little bit higher, to be honest, but with that three at the back, allowing him to play that wing back role, a little bit more forward creative license. The second thing being the movement off the ball is so important. It's something we don't really talk about. And I don't think it's Sasha Kljestan. This guy, is Albert Einstein in terms of reading a game. And credit to him, 35 years old, that late in the game with 13 minutes left, making that run. That run pulls the defender off, allows Araujo to do that. Otherwise, he could have been, closed down and the crosses had come in. And that's something that Real Salt Lake really struggled with in terms of pressure on the ball. I thought they defended too deep. Something, quite frankly, the Galaxy had problems with, especially earlier on in the match. But that's twofold there in terms of the adjustment that Vanney made. And another one, besides the fact that bringing Grandsir over to the left-hand side, but Kljestan also having the intelligence to make that run, recognize the situation, and Araujo with the, adaptability to just pick out Raveloson. And, Raveloson, he's singled out for praise by Greg Vanney after the game. The timing of his runs, fantastic. He's so patient. Doesn't jump in.
Nope. Rarely
will you see that one go over his head after he's made the run. He'll drop back a little bit. Patience and his athletic ability is, it's been unparalleled. It was a beautiful goal. He should have had two on the night if it wasn't for Ochoa, who, had a very good performance, who I thought is, one of the brightest young goalkeepers in the country.
You want the crazy stat? I tweeted out the crazy stat after the game. Raveloson is averaging one goal every 84.75 minutes. He has
not bad.
Right, not bad. He has 4 shots in MLS. All 4 of them have been on goal, and has 3 goals from that. We saw Ochoa save the other one that probably should have been a goal as well. Just comparison's sake, not saying these two will ever be the same ever again, but let's do it while they're close. Javier Hernandez currently is averaging 1 goal every 86.6 minutes. So right now, Raveloson is scoring at a higher rate than Chicharito was scoring through his first 10 games that he played, where he got his 10 goals. Yeah,
that's great. So wait, that means we're going to see Raveloson and Chicharito paired up front.
That was what did Araujo said afterwards. He's like, I think he's in the box more than some of our forwards are, right? And it was a nice little joke there. By the way, Joe asks what I'm drinking tonight. It's nothing even remotely exciting, but it's Waterloo's sparkling water. I have the pineapple one. I will say it smells better than it really tastes. Like you expect it to taste very pineapple-y, and then it just sort of tastes like sparkling water with like somebody whispered pineapple at it as it rolled across the thing. So yes, that's my Remember on this show, Christian, I don't know if I'm sure you heard, I'm trying not to drink Dr. Pepper during the show anymore because that's just drinking calories my body really can't work off while I'm sitting here.
This is at the point of the show where you usually crash, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no, Hammer probably kicks it into gear right now.
That's usually there's a Dr. Pepper. Someday in a studio that I build, underneath the desk, there's going to be a refrigerator that has the Dr. Pepper like sitting right there for emergency cases. So, usually it's white girl coffee and Dr. Pepper. So, that's usually how I roll for podcasts. Yeah.
This is an appeal for sponsorship. Well played. Well pitched.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Anything else?
Wait, real quick,
Yes.
Josh, real quick.
Yes.
Can we give a shout out to Hammer? Of course, on whose shoes I'm trying to fill tonight. Full kit wanker, self-admitted full kit wanker. Hammer coming out.
Yes.
And a shout out to the Hammer. Well played on the social media. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on his Twitter feed. Good comedy, good stuff, good spirit.
Always fun. He has a good TikTok. I think that's why he moved to Dallas. He was going to go professional TikTok on us. I think is where.
Wait, will he be at the game?
Yes, I believe he will be at the game in Dallas. I believe so. Yes, there are some people I think who are meeting up with him. I haven't. He says it's a crazy week, so I don't know if he's allowed to go to the Dallas game because he's already in trouble because he's going to be at our live show. And what a perfect time what a great segue. Oh wow, amazing. Our live show coming up on July 31st. At Taps Brewery. Hammer is flying in for that, all right? He may get divorced out of it, but he's flying in for that particular game. I will tell you, once again, I am hesitant to just tell you who the special guests are because these are all they're very busy people, and if we can get them, that's great. But there are some people who I've been talking to that you're going to want to come. I'm just saying you're going to want to come, and if they show up, it's great. And if not, I have some phone interviews lined up. It's going to be a ton of fun. But again, at Taps Brewery, July 31st. It's down in Tustin. It's not too far away from my work, so it's just down the street there. We've had events there before. 4:30 doors open. We're going to do a 90-minute live show at 5:30. And no, it's not going to be broadcast anywhere. This is just for the people who are there, and then I will eventually put it out afterwards as a podcast so everybody can sort of see the fun and the shenanigans that we had. You can get your tickets, cornerofthegalaxy.com, click on the live show moniker there. You go down, you scroll, and it says buy tickets. Tickets, I think, are like $6 with fees. It's $5, and then it's like $1 fee, and whenever it rounds up. So get your tickets, and as I have said and been consistent throughout this whole thing, if you cannot afford to buy tickets, Christian, you show up anyway, and I don't care. Come enjoy it and have some beers with us, all right? I'm not worried about it.
It said beers at 7:15. I think that's going to get bumped up.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to start at 5. It's going to start at 5, and then I'm going to do a live show while drinking a beer, and then afterward, I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
It might be your best show, Josh.
It was, and Linda Pickle is going to be there, by the way. She's going to do a little mini pop-up for us as well. So there's a little pop-up museum. I was talking with her today. She's really excited about that, and I'm excited to have her there as well. So that's going to be there. It's outside because somebody asked me that question. We're outside, so if you're worried about COVID, great. I understand. Mm-hmm. You're more than welcome to wear masks while we're there too. Totally your choice. However you want to do that. For me, if you want to take pictures with me, I'll put a mask on if you want, or I'm fully vaxxed too. So however you want to do it, I'm ready to hang out with you, and hopefully we can wrangle somebody. Hammer will be there. I believe Larry's going to be there. I believe Sophie's going to be there, and the Panda may be checking in from Tokyo whenever we do it. So
wow,
we're going to wake him up earlier. So again, at about 5 p.m. I think is whenever things will probably start to ramp up a little bit. So we open around 4:30. Show up there, find a seat, that type of thing, and we should have a lot of fun. So that's my pitch. July 31st. We'll see you out there. The game's on Friday night. On Saturday, we get to recap that game with a whole bunch of special guests and do that fun stuff. So and Cosmo's going to be there. I forgot Cosmo too. So
that was my next question. I mean, fantastic.
You have to get the alien there. You have to get the man, and I'm pretty sure they have tacos at the food truck that's there too. So Cosmo will be a happy alien. I'm sure he will be. So anyway, a fun little picture that we saw obviously was Raveloson with his hand up to his ear after he scored the goal. I thought that was great. He said that he got booed earlier in the game after a play, and so he wanted to see if they were still booing after all of that. And yes, they were. They weren't happy with him, and he loved every second of that. So interesting. Galaxy actually won the possession battle. That didn't change for most of the game. Even when the Galaxy were down 2-0, they were still holding a possession advantage. It just got to be more dangerous on the possession side. And I saw an RSL person who was tracking Real Salt Lake saying that they have the worst passing average percentage accuracy in the league at 77.5. The LA Galaxy at 83.3, and you could see some of that in that game. So, final thing I want to get to on this game, and then we'll shift gears a little bit. Just the heat maps that they're showing for Raveloson. Basically, the dude's all over the center of the field, and that's really where you want to see your number 6. But that number 6 has also scored 3 goals in 3 games, and is doing some ridiculous things. So, Christian, that's what I have from the RSL game. Anything else you want to add on that?
When's the Rayan Raveloson bobblehead coming out?
Seriously, they need to have a little soccer ball bouncing off his head. I
love him. I love it. I love the composure. It's almost like he's casual, but he's not. I mean, such a breath of fresh air. He's kind of added an assured confidence, and there's a guy, with his team, he could have played in Ligue 1 if he wanted to. His team, he guided them to promotion, so he had the option of playing in the French top flight, which is, look, it's not Germany, Italy, Spain, or England, but it's up there, second tier in terms of top flight leagues. And so the fact that he came over here, I like to have that pedigree. He's been through the pressure cooker. You can see it in his play. Exactly what they need. It's been nothing but positive since he's taken the pitch.
I said this on Twitter, and then I watched people explode, apparently not understanding kind of maybe I didn't say it well. I said that if Vanney hits, and so far we've seen hits, so we're talking about bringing people in. If he gets hits in terms of successful people he brought in, when you look at Derek Williams, Jonathan Bond, Villafaña, even whenever you're there, then you go to Grancier, you go to Raveloson, you go to Cabral. If he hits on all of those that he brought in, except for Cabral, they had an unbelievable season. And if Cabral struggles to sort of find his way, which is it perfectly could happen, I'm not willing to write him off at all, and I don't understand people who are. But I think he's going to build into the season. I just think it's going to be a slow burn for him. He's going to have to understand the physicality needed. He's going to have to understand the speed that he needs, all these things. But if they get on all of those, if you hit on all those, you can't ask for a better transfer season, because transfers are never guaranteed, Christian, and that's not even the guys who spend hundreds of millions of dollars on transfers. There's no guarantee a guy's going to come in and fit with your system and fit with your club and do everything that you want him to do.
Fernando Torres.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, you're right.
There,
and we talk about those busts all the time, right? So don't think that Cabral couldn't be a bust. Now, I'm not calling him a bust. I'm far from that. But I'm just saying that if you did all that, it's still a successful season in terms of the people that you brought in. The thing that people, I think, get rubbed the wrong way is that he's a young designated player, and that spot is important. But his signing as a young DP has also allowed the LA Galaxy to do other things like get Araujo and get Efrain Alvarez locked up, so that way whenever eventually those guys do get sold, the LA Galaxy will be made whole for those contracts. So those are important things. So all that stuff, trying to sort of balance those things, I am of the belief that, if you got half of your transfers right sometimes, that's super successful. It kind of depends on where they play. But Vanney and Dennis DeClosa have hit on most of the guys they brought in so far this year. That's huge.
Oh, you think about where we were a year ago, and you throw in Victor Vasquez into the mix. Derek Williams has been a boost. I think he's going to really come good here, especially as he gets a good run of games underneath him. And I really think also, too, we haven't seen a lot of him, is Sega Koulibaly. I think he and Williams are the future center back pairing. He's going to be a special player. He's going to fit right in and be the out and out, center back pairing, whether it be in a back 3 or back 4. So yeah, my rule is, like, if you're hitting on half of your transfers, then you're doing well. I mean, even the best bomb in the transfer market.
Yep.
Like we talked, we just mentioned some big names, but even Sir Alex Ferguson in Manchester United bombed in some of his transfers. Chelsea's done it. The teams all around the league. But, look at the likes of what's transpired now, and you think of like players that have come in the last couple of years that haven't made an impact, and then you look at the players that are making impacts now, and the contrast is stark.
Yes,
it's positive here, and they're having meaningful impacts, and this is also amidst a depleted team. So what's striking me here is, yes, the first 11, when it comes back to full strength, will be very strong, but there's also a depth.
Yes,
and an added dimension, which the Galaxy, last year they're very shallow, depth.
We're
seeing that
now. I mean, ever since basically Bruce Arena left, the LA Galaxy have not been deep, right? They've been these are the guys who are sort of there. Guillermo had, I think, the deepest squad in 2019. out of any of them, and that wasn't, you got to the bench and it wasn't exactly like, oh yeah, there's a ton of game changers in there. It was just Zlatan out front knocking balls in for the most part. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're a Galaxy fan, you should be very happy already. 14 games in the season, be happy with the progress that they've been able to make in this offseason, because the rebuild that is going on, for me, feels very reminiscent of 2009, whenever Bruce Arena sort of came in and filled all the holes and started building that depth. And you saw, I think it's an easier league in 2009, less teams, easier way to get there. But the LA Galaxy were in an MLS Cup in 2009, and they didn't win it, which, by the way, they shouldn't have won that game. It was one of those that it wasn't the time. It wasn't the time for everything to come together. 2009 wasn't it?
Don't go there. Don't go there.
2010 wasn't it? 2011 was where it was all going to pay off. That type of thing. But yeah,
there's one thing, Ed, though, that I think the final piece of this puzzle is the Galaxy need to be harder to play against right now, and they have not been harder to play against. I think only 6 other teams have conceded more goals in Major League Soccer than the Galaxy this year. So for all the plaudits and aplomb that we're giving to Koulibaly, Williams, Steres, I thought Depew's done well. They need to be harder to play against, and it's not just a criticism of the back four.
Right.
I mean, any coach will tell you it's got to start up front, and it's got to be better here, and you need cover. And I think Raveloson is starting to provide that a little bit. They have a little bit of an extra edge right now, but again, they're not at full strength. When they come back at full strength is when I expect them to. That's the next step. We know they're going to get goals,
right?
And they're showing there is depth in goal scoring. Whether it's Raveloson, even Cabral chipping in, or Grand Cyr for me is due. There are goals in this team. There are goals throughout, even with Chicharito out injured right now. But if you can be harder to play against, which is coming together, and stability is the cornerstone of a good defense, and that means games. That means just basically playing a lot together. We haven't had that yet. I mean, so whether it's Depew back there, Steres, once we get Koulibaly back from injury and they become almost on the same page, I think we're going to see that kind of blossom, because that could be a really good back five. Jonathan Bond has been superb this season.
Absolutely, 100%. No, I'm all about the defense growing into it this year. I think that's definitely going to happen. All right, I want to get to a couple stats things just because we're keeping track. If you look at it right now, Kevin Cabral is your leading designated player. He has played 86.2% of his total minutes, and as a matter of fact, is second only now to Javier Hernandez in 866 minutes. And so, if you look at what they were sort of looking at and sort of how that is going at the 866 minute, now he's at 776 minutes, 86.2% there for the LA Galaxy in total minutes played by Kevin Cabral. We'll work on getting Christian back. I know he lost me. I think his earphones may have died, and maybe he's done for the rest of the night. I don't know. It could be one of those. We'll keep an eye on that as we go ahead. The away points is something I am watching very closely. The LA Galaxy averaging 1.20 points per game across their entire franchise history. They're currently averaging 1.43 points per game. The 1 point certainly helped. Getting 3 points is always a huge plus. But if you go back into some of these 2014s and 2014 had like 1.24. That's an MLS Cup winning year, and right now the LA Galaxy averaging 1.43 points per game on some of that. Christian, we get you back?
I'm back. Sorry, my headphones went out.
That's okay. No problems. I just want to make sure you're good. So we're looking at the 1.43 points per game right now on the road. That's huge for the LA Galaxy. I can't tell you how important road points are in terms of, you're not supposed to win on the road. Any point you get on the road is a good point in Major League Soccer. Win all of your home games, win, even a third of your road games, and you are a very good team in Major League Soccer where they're at. When we go over the overall start for the LA Galaxy, I believe they're tied for 4th best start in franchise history right now, tied with 2019, who also had 25 points through 14 games. The real leaders here, 2010 had 33. And then you get into the shootout eras, 34 in 1998. So sort of keep an eye on that one as it keeps going. The LA Galaxy are on pace right now. Listen, 2019 was a team that won, Christian, a whole bunch up front and then sort of skittered through the rest of that. You don't want to see that from the LA Galaxy. So this year, watch them, strengthen their position over these next 5-6 games, basically the next month of August. Whenever you get through the month of August, see where the LA Galaxy are after that, and there's some tough games coming ahead for them, and a lot of games to be played. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's see. The average points per game for the LA Galaxy right now, extremely high, actually, compared to across their overall average. 1.52 is their overall average, 1.79 right now for the LA Galaxy. If they finish the season that way, which would be great, they would be tied with 2014 at 1.79. Only really the years of 2010 and 2011, where they finished at just shy of 2 points per game across their entire season, did they have higher. So again, the Galaxy look like they're at least trending in the right direction. They have some tough games, though, and those tough games will sort of change some things around on that. I'm just going to go to the goal projection so that we can sort of see if we project out how many goals they have scored and how many goals they have allowed, and you project that out over a 34-game season. Right now, they would be at about 55.9 goals scored or 53.4 goals allowed. I expect that 59, 55, almost 56 is actually a really high number for the LA Galaxy. It's above their average. So as long as they can keep on that pace, that would be great. The 54 goals is also high in terms of giving up goals. So you want to see that shrink as we come closer to the end of the season, and you want to see that goals number continue, basically scoring at the same rate that they're at, because I think that would be really good seasons for the Galaxy. All right. Standings, Christian?
Let's do it.
LA Galaxy third in the Western Conference, fourth overall in the Supporters Shield. Colorado right behind them. Colorado is this quiet team that I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to, Christian, and they are absolutely a good team. I mean,
Colorado head coach Robin Fraser, a very, very good friend of Greg Vanney. In fact, those two are on the same staff at Chivas USA, and they've been kind of interlinked. And it was Robin who actually brought Greg into Chivas, and then the favor was returned when they were linked up at Toronto. And then Robin Fraser is a hell of a coach.
Yes.
And what he's getting out of this Colorado team, Cole Bassett is really showing to be, one of the midfield phenoms so far. So yeah, Colorado's for real, but God, that second spot, Josh.
I know, it's right there.
It could have been ours.
Yes.
You see, we're 2 points adrift. I mean, I thought for sure, on Saturday it was going to be not a walkover, but I was expecting 3 points. A little disappointed, but whatever. That's what it is. But that darn SKC right there in front of us, and who had that 1-1 draw, I believe, against San Jose last night. So it's just trying to get over that hump. And what was that, 5 points off of Seattle? Who for me, no matter how good New England is, they're still the cream of the crop, Seattle.
I think Seattle is also winning their game because they're playing tonight. And I think they were also winning that game. I'm sure somebody in the chat room will update me. Patrick gave us a $5 super chat before we get to Dallas. Patrick gave us a $5 super chat, says there will be a weird dude you don't recognize at the live show at Taps, and that person will not be me because sadly I will not be able to join. So we'll just look out for that weird person, Patrick. But thank you for the $5. We appreciate that going along. Before we get completely out of touch with anything, I would just like to talk about Jonathan Bond and his pillow that he travels on the plane with, and how this seems like a really good marketing opportunity, Christian, that they are not attacking right now. Could they have like a little pillow type Jonathan Bond guy that is like body pillow that you could just, you could sleep with every night? I guarantee you I would buy one. I know that there are some friends of mine, some ladies who would definitely buy a little like pillow stuffed Jonathan Bond. So when are the LA Galaxy going to jump on this? There needs to be a Jonathan Bond body pillow, and it needs to happen like quickly.
And how great would it be to have like a little mini Jonathan Bond little body pillow mascot right along to tag along with Cosmo?
Something needs to happen. Yes, I agree with you 100%. So that's it. By the way, a chat room updated me. Seattle did beat Austin. I think Seattle started 5 teenagers, one of the youngest starting lineups, and they won 1-0. I believe Rui Diaz scored that goal, which puts him at 11 goals now. I think he jumps up above Chicharito. So 11 for Rui Diaz, and I think it was from about 40 yards away.
They're just incredible, Seattle. Incredible.
I mean, they are so depleted. They have almost nobody, and they're still winning. Brian Schmetzer is just amazing.
And the players they bring on, I had a chance to see Absis Sissoko play with Galaxy 2 in their game earlier this season, and I was like, wow, this kid, here he is. He could step right into it, a central defensive role in an MLS team, and lo and behold, now he's stepped right in, and they haven't even missed Nuhu. So the players that were all the conveyor belt there are just fantastic.
Amazing what they're able to do. I'm going to say a more limited budget. But they just constantly retool, and that's amazing. They're like you said, the conveyor belt. Somebody gets hurt, somebody else steps in. It's like they were never gone, right? It was just some crazy thing. All right, let's see where we're at right here. The LA Galaxy face off against FC Dallas coming up, 5:30 p.m. Time. This kickoff time is 5:38 p.m. Again, if it's on Spectrum, expected to kick off 8 minutes after the official time. So 5:38 p.m. is your official kickoff time. Let's see. Whenever I look at FC Dallas, Christian, I see a team that is 2-7-5 overall for 11 points. They are absolutely in 13th place in the Western Conference. They are in 25th place in the Supporter Shield. And yet, again, I go to their home record, and they're 2-0-5. They have 2 wins at home, but 5 draws. They've played 7 games, and they have not lost a game at home. And they have played some teams that are good teams at home, and yet they have not lost. But they are the worst team in the Western Conference. It doesn't compute for me. Except that FC Dallas is a weird place. I already told you that. It's a weird place. I'm just saying. So,
it's like the Bermuda Triangle of Major League Soccer. I mean, I don't know what to make of me. I haven't seen a lot of them, and to be honest, I'm not going to try and fake it here. But they can score goals. I mean, about their youth philosophy. They sell off all their players to Europe, so they're always kind of like Seattle we were talking about. There are a lot of these players coming out, but yeah, I mean, you don't know what you're going to get, and what kind of a start are we going to see out of LA? I mean, I expected a strong start against Vancouver. They got it, but then you're expecting a stronger start after the end of the Vancouver game against Real Salt Lake. We didn't get that. I think I don't even know what's going to happen, man.
Well, and let's put this into perspective again. The guys were in the pool today. We saw pictures of them in the pool doing some regen, some pool session regen stuff, which is great. That's what they should be doing. They flew from Utah this morning, basically made it to Dallas. So they're in Dallas now. They'll stay there. It's going to be hot. We know it's going to be hot in Dallas. Probably be windy because why not? There's nothing in that state to stop the wind from blowing. So you have all that. And Dallas overall against the LA Galaxy actually has a winning record. Dallas is 11-10-3 overall against the LA Galaxy. You go back to last year, 3-1 win for the LA Galaxy. Back to 2019, a 2-0 win. A 2-0 win for Dallas in 2019. So again, a good team in 2019. Dallas was able to sort of take it. It's just Dallas is one of those places for me, Christian, that I am not confident ever going. It's farther away than you think it is. It's hotter than you think it is. The field, for whatever reason, always plays just a little weird, much like RSL. RSL field plays is hard as a rock. It might as well be turf in some cases. So you look at all that. I don't know where to put the LA Galaxy in this. I do know that the odds makers are saying right now, 538 specifically, is saying the LA Galaxy don't stand a chance in this game. Seriously. Yeah. Right? I mean, this one I think is wrong. I'm going to get to 538. Here's 538. They have a 48% chance that Dallas is going to win this game, a 28% chance that the LA Galaxy are going to win this game, and a 24% chance that there's going to be a draw in this game. That, to me, I'm not saying bet on things, okay? Because
I'm not buying it.
I wouldn't do that, Christian, but that to me seems way slanted. It's way more towards that draw, I think, than anything else. And I think that if you get a draw out of Dallas, yes, you'll be like, we got 2 points out of 3 games on the road. It doesn't keep you warm at night, Christian, but it progresses you. It takes you a step forward. You get something out of it. And I'm sort of feeling like that's how this is going to go, because I do not feel like the LA Galaxy have a lot left in the tank after what they've done against Vancouver and Real Salt Lake at altitude.
I think it's a team that actually is buoyed by confidence right now. They found a different way to win, and they chartered new ground. I think they're going to kick on from here, personally, and I think Dallas is a little weak at the back. I think they're a little bit soft.
Yes.
Let's be honest. The X factor could be Hammer in the stands.
That could be, and his TikTok of the day.
Only in full kit TikTok mode.
That's right. I want to see if he's going to do TikTok from the stadium. Quite honestly.
It has to happen. It has. Please make it happen, Josh.
Ricardo Pepi is their leading goal scorer, 5 goals. Jesus Ferreira, Ryan Hollingshead both have 3 assists. By the way, Grandsir leads the LA Galaxy in assists now, 4 assists for Grandsir. Chicharito has the 10 goals. We do not have updates on injuries, and normally we do, because normally there's a call on a Thursday morning and Thursday middle of the day, and we're able to do it. That call is pushed till Friday, so it's actually happening tomorrow. So I implore you to pay attention to the Twitter feed tomorrow and sort of see where that's at. We'll give you updates on sort of where it is. I'll tell you that Chicharito was not with the team and has not been with the team, at least up to this point. I think the same is true with Sega Coulibaly. The injured guys were staying home on this, so I do not expect that they're suddenly going to show up in Dallas for this. So I think that the team you've seen over the first two games is the team you're going to see for this third game, and you're just going to save Chicharito if he's ready to come back against Portland. That's my take on the injuries right now.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you 100%. Why risk it right now? It would be extravagance to bring him back out. You're going against the bottom team in the Western Conference. You've got to expect points out of this. And with or without Chicharito, I'm expecting points. And quite frankly, for a team that's in the third position like this, who has hit some heady heights this year, you expect points out of this. I'm expecting a win.
All right.
Personally, out of this, yes, I am. I mean, it's not going to be a walkover.
No,
but I'm expecting it to be a little bit tighter, and I'm expecting the Galaxy. They found a different way to play, and that's kind of the revelation I take from these last few run of games, but especially the last for 15 minutes of the first half and the second half of the game against RSL. So yeah, it's going to be tight. But I mean, again, the dreaded Bermuda Triangle of Major League Soccer. Who the hell knows what's going to happen in Dallas? Because you and I have been around this long enough, or some strange stuff happens in Dallas. I mean, they're so hit and miss. I mean, they can come out and score 4 and then come out and let in 4. I mean, they're kind of a poor-man San Jose.
They beat New England, right? New England, who is this very very good team under Bruce Arena, very consistent, very good scoring, very dynamic, right? Like all these things. You look at that. They went and they beat New England at home. That was one of their 2 wins at home, was beating New England. So you can't just walk in there thinking you're gonna get the points. And maybe that was a problem with Vancouver. I don't think that was, but I mean, certainly the way they played, you would think they just weren't up for that game for whatever reason it was.
And they just lost Tanner Tessman, who was sold to Venezia. Man, God, just think if Dallas had all those players that they sold, bringing back McKinney and Tessman.
Can you imagine being in 13th place? So you're a Dallas fan, right? You're in 13th place, and one of your better players you sell in the middle of you being in 13th place. And I was talking to John Arnold, who was up in the press box, and he's like, and their scouting hasn't been as good as it was, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I think one of the lead guys who was a scout, actually passed away. And since then, they really have sort of had trouble sort of finding that diamond in the rough stuff they used to do, right? They used to go down to like South or Central America and find a guy who was really good, but wasn't that expensive, and they would bring him in, and he would be. They had dangerous teams. I mean, look at them in 2010. They knocked the LA Galaxy out of the playoffs in a year where they had the Supporters Shield, but that was sort of their heyday. And since then, they still selling a lot of players. Players are going overseas. Players are doing things, and they're making that money. But at the same time, it's not improving their team there in Dallas. So it's just, I don't know. For me, it's tough to take, I think, if you're an FC Dallas fan, whenever you see that you're selling players, but you're not necessarily getting anything in return. You're getting money, but where's the payoff?
You had to reinvest in your youth, and this is a really big point. I mean, interesting point on a larger scale. MLS, a selling league, but it kind of stands in stark contrast to these designated players coming in. It's great to do if you're an FC Dallas, if you can continue to have that conveyor belt, you continue to reinvest the youth program and bring those players off the line. Now, they've had some good runs with some of the domestic players, but I remember going back. I mean, this is how old we are. I remember the days of Jesus Ferreira's dad, David, who was a revelation. When they brought him in from Colombia, right. And you don't really see a lot of that South American pipeline hitting to the heights that those players did back in the days. So, if you can replenish and reinvest and continue to have it on, then yes, there is that. It's a good business model. You take the transfer fees, and that's how a lot of the world works. You look at Holland is a prototypical example of that. So there's nothing wrong with that model in my estimation, but you've got to have the presence, you've got to have the people, and you've got to have the scouts, you've got to have the youth coaches, and that's something that's just not like at the top level. That's something that goes, down to the U13s, down to, as far as the U10s. So tough to do,
right?
But I believe, personally, for me, that is the future of this league, and how it's going to go off. And I think LA is really tapping into that, like Seattle is as well.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how the LA Galaxy sort of navigate this last game. This is sort of one of those character games, right? You're going to have to put in way more effort than you think you're going to have to play. I think Dallas has a hard field as well. It's sort of similar to RSL, and so the ball bounces a little weird and does little things, and it's harder on your body and all those things. And so you're just hoping that all the little hints that they've sort of picked up over the last couple games, that they can sort of put it all together. So again, the LA Galaxy face off against FC Dallas. It's a 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 7:30 Central time kickoff Spectrum Sportsnet. So Kobe Jones, Joe Tutino, and Nikki K. Yes, do it. Yes.
I have a surprise cameo coming for you on Spectrum Sports. I cannot reveal my insider information, but Kobe will not be a part of the broadcast. Somebody special is coming your way, stay tuned. Joe will be there, holding it down as usual. Nikki doing a great job in her first season, but yes, there will be a surprise cameo.
Wow.
Stay tuned.
Wow, everybody's excited. All right.
It's not me. It's not me. Thank you.
I was going to say, I thought you were building yourself up. I'm like, you can just tell everybody it's you. I know. I don't know. Would it really be that big of a surprise, Christian? Are you building them? I mean, we see it. No, nobody. But anyway,
about me.
Yes, yeah. Let's make this about me. Very good. That's where we're at for the LA Galaxy, and I think that's about where. Anything else, Christian, you want to touch on before we get on out of here?
Want to see a 90-minute performance. That's all I want. Great starts, slow starts, poor finishes. We haven't seen it yet. We get it. 3 points are going in the bag for the Galaxy.
All right, a lot of fun. I'm ready to rock and roll. Why don't you tell people?
Here first, pal.
Yeah, that's right, Christian. As always, thank you for coming on. Thank you for doing this. We've talked for years, and I'm a moron for not having you on sooner. So please accept my apologies, and we'll have you back on. I promise. All right.
Thank you, sir. A lot of fun. Big fan. You guys do a great job. Kudos to all the COG superstars. I'm just glad I got a little bit of a name on the marquee. Just maybe a little copyright size font, maybe.
That's right. We'll get you something. Why don't you tell people where they can find you, and we'll roll.
C-Miles Sports is my Twitter handle. You can catch me on LAGalaxy.com for the live radio stream of the games. A little bit here and there. If you like college soccer, folks, it's coming your way soon. As we come back online out of this COVID nonsense. Pac-12 networks, a lot of college soccer here in Southern California, and maybe one more COG.
Maybe, I think we can work that out. I think we can make it happen. The hammer's bailing anyway. All right.
I know.
Always, Christian, we appreciate it. Don't know. He went away. All right. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at @JGuesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over cornerofthegalaxy.com. That's where you can find our podcast videos, articles, all that fun stuff. Go buy your tickets for the live show coming up July 31st at Taps Brewer in Tustin. We have some amazing things lined up for you. You're not going to want to miss it. Click on the live button, buy those tickets. All right. For Mr. Christian Miles, I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.